Cyberpunk has always been one of the most popular subgenres in the entirety of science fiction. Maybe it's the bright neon lights or the wacky gizmos that attract us to it, or maybe it's just that it depicts our world in a much more realistic way than more optimistic forms of sci-fi. The genre is infamous for juxtaposing great achievements in technology with portrayals of societal decay, which makes cyberpunk both escapist and realistic in a really enticing way. Honestly, nobody does it better than retro anime from the 80s and 90s. Thus, in this marvelous video, we'll be paying tribute to one of our favorite genres by listing out the top 12 cyberpunk animes from the 80s and 90s, which we still can't get out of our heads. But before you go off to grab your coolest neon hoodies, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It might just be a small click for you, but to us, it means an awful lot. Now, without further ado, let's dive right in. Ghost in the Shell, 1995. There's definitely no better place to kick this list off than with Ghost in the Shell. Whether you're a fan of cyberpunk or not, this one's definitely going to create an impact with its surprisingly deep, philosophical, and poignant real-world questions. Released in 1995 and directed by Mamoru Oshii, Ghost in the Shell is one of those classic animes that can't be forgotten. It's adapted from Masamune Shirau's manga of the same name, but we would say it's pretty undeniable that the anime really made the story its own. This tale takes place in a futuristic world where cybernetic enhancements are considered to be normal and hacking into one's mind is far too easy. Our protagonist is Major Motoko Kusanagi, a highly advanced cyborg working for an elite government agency known as Section 9. The story unfolds as Kusanagi is on the hunt for a mysterious hacker known simply as the Puppet Master, but it's evident from the beginning that this is far more than your usual detective story. It blurs the lines between humanity and machines, the real and artificial, warping Kusanagi's perspective to such a degree that she starts questioning her own identity. Along the way, we encounter questions like what it means to have a soul or a ghost in a shell that is entirely synthetic. A mix of hand-drawn animation and early CGI, Ghost in the Shell might just be one of the most prolific works of animation ever created, and its influence can be felt in everything from modern anime to The Matrix. Cyber City Oedo 808. 1990 to 1991. Our next neon-drenched dystopia lies in the world of Cyber City Oedo 808, an underrated gem from the 90s that definitely deserves more attention. Released in the early part of the decade, the OVA takes place in the year 2808. The futuristic vision of Tokyo is known as Oedo, but it's not really the best place to live. Crime is out of control, gangs run the streets, and thus the government has called 3 hardened criminals in to help. These violent men, named Sengoku, Goggles, and Benton, are provided with an offer that they just can't refuse. To reduce their massive prison sentences, they have to work for the cyber police. In the end, they must take on crime to gain their freedom or die trying. Each of these episodes focuses on one of the tough anti-heroes as they take the fight to high-tech criminals, rogue AIs, and cybernetically augmented psychopaths. And more than anything else, they must resist the oppressive system that sees them as nothing more than disposable tools. This show is an extremely potent blend of old-school noir and bone-crushing action, all done in spectacular 90s style animation. Bubblegum Crisis, 1987 to 1991. The next entry on this list is an anime series that ran from 1987 to 91, known as Bubblegum Crisis. Though you wouldn't really guess that from the name, this is a series that involves the adventures of the Nightsabers, an all-female group of mercenaries, each endowed with a powerful exoskeleton suit to take on challenges that normal humans can't. Though not many people know about this show today, it was a pretty successful spectacle back in the day and spawned numerous sequel series. The tale begins in the year 2032, 7 years after a great earthquake has literally split Tokyo in two. This unprecedented catastrophe is also the reason behind the USA's annexation of Japan in the name of keeping peace and preventing the nation's descent into complete anarchy. In the first episode, the wealth disparity is shown to be far greater than in any other period in Japan's history. The main antagonist of the story is a mega corporation known as Genom, which wields unimaginable power and influence over the entire nation. Genom's greatest product is known as Boomers, an artificial cybernetic lifeform that takes on the appearance of humans. Though most of their bodies are augmented machines, Their purpose is to serve mankind, which makes them extremely deadly weapons in the wrong hands. The organization that's tasked with preventing this is known as the Advanced Police, which specifically looks into boomer-related crimes. This allows the show to effortlessly explore the department's inability to deal with threats because of internal infighting, political interference, and lack of a budget. Though this might seem boring at first glance, trust us when we tell you that these 8 episodes are a whole lot of futuristic fun. Neon Genesis Evangelion, 1995 to 1996. Now let's turn our attention towards one of the most influential and recognizable anime series ever made, Neon Genesis Evangelion. This show from 1995 still stands as one of the greatest achievements in the genre and proves that even shows about giant fighting robots can be deeply philosophical. The show follows Shinji Ikari, a 14-year-old boy who's suddenly called to the front lines of a war against the gigantic angels that threaten to wipe out all life on Earth. To fight these entities off, Shinji must pilot a massive biomechanical machine known as an Eva in a series of devastating battles. The tale begins in 2000 with a global cataclysm known as the Second Impact, which completely destroyed Antarctica and led to the deaths of almost half the human population. We eventually find out that the Second Impact was actually the result of experimentation on what was the very first of the angels, Adam, by a secret organization known as Zila. To counter this, the research organization Gehern is forced to change into a paramilitary organization known as NERV. Headquartered in Tokyo 3, a militarized city and one of the last remnants of Japan, NERV's central mission is to locate the remaining angels predicted by Zila and destroy them. But as it turns out, nothing is as it seems in the world of Evangelion, as even NERV seems to have its own hidden agenda, spearheaded by none other than Shinji's own father, the Machiavellian genius Gendo Ikari. This series still remains one of the most poignant tales about human nature, loneliness, and trauma. It weaves together a surreal tapestry of stunning images to depict a story that just can't be described in words. If you're new to the cyberpunk genre, this is undoubtedly a perfect place to start. Armitage 3, 1995. Our next show from the mid-90s takes place in the year 2046, when humanity has already colonized the planet Mars. But now, Mars has been reduced to a politically tense extension of Earth, and its unforgiving environment is clearly no joke either. Sometime after the beginning of the colonization, the city was eventually completed with the help of advanced robots and androids. The tale centers around Naomi Armitage, a tough, jaded cop, and her partner, Ross Syllabus, a newly transferred cop from Earth. These officers find themselves heading an investigation into mysterious murders. However, all the victims in these cases are highly advanced androids known as thirds, who are essentially indistinguishable from humans in every possible way. Intriguingly, Armitage herself is a third, a fact that's kept secret from most of the other characters. Thus, as the tale unfolds, we dive into a bunch of relevant questions like what it really means to be human. Though Armitage might seem like your standard sci-fi fare, this is a story that has a lot of things to say about rights, consciousness, love, and fear. But the moody, sleek, dystopian vibe definitely helps. Appleseed, 1988. Appleseed is one of the lesser-known works of Masamune Shirow, who is also responsible for Ghost in the Shell. Released in 1988, this is a show that portrays a world that has been shaped by war and technology to the point that the lines between human freedom and a semblance of artificial order have been blurred. The story unfolds on a version of Earth that has been left devastated by the effects of World War III. Thus, the organization, known as the General Management Control Office, constructs a technologically advanced utopia known as Olympus. The city is inhabited by futuristic beings of all kinds, like cyborgs, bioroids, and of course, genetic experiments. Though this utopian settlement seems peaceful from afar, there's a constant sense of oppression at the hands of its artificial order, and one of the people affected by this is a police officer, Charon Mothalos. Disillusioned by her experiences in this city, Charon defects and joins the terrorist resistance in Olympia. Through this, these renegades seek to destroy the false utopia, and the only ones standing in their way are the battle-hardened enhanced SWAT officers Dunan Nut and Briaris Hecatoncheires. This is definitely far more than a typical story about cops and terrorists, with themes that reflect the nature of humanity. AD Police Files, 1990. Another gritty sci-fi tale from the 90s, AD Police Files is actually set at the same time as our earlier entry, Bubblegum Crisis. However, it functions as a prequel, taking place about 7 years before the main story. This tale is also a bit darker and more grounded, featuring a curious blend of technology, megacorporations, and AI. The setting is Mega Tokyo, a sprawling metropolis rebuilt after a catastrophic earthquake in the late 2020s. The boomers make a return, and these advanced androids play a pretty integral role in all facets of life, from law enforcement to companionship. However, as the tech evolves, boomers begin to malfunction and go rogue. The threat posed by these machines is so great that an advanced police, or AD police unit, is set up to deal with these boomer-related crimes. Our protagonist is Leon McNichol, a starry-eyed and ambitious new officer who goes off to deal with a bunch of curious cases. Each of the 3 standalone episodes follows a different case, exploring different psychological and ethical dilemmas that come with a society dependent on artificial light. If you liked Bubblegum Crisis, do give this one a chance, as it provides a much grittier perspective on a universe we've already grown familiar with. Goku Midnight High, 1989. Another underrated gem from the flamboyant 80s, this stylish and over-the-top story is based on a manga by Buichi Terasawa. It follows the story of Goku Furinji, a tough private eye who lives in a futuristic and exceedingly corrupt city. In one of his cases, Goku has an extremely brutal encounter and wakes up with a strange and mysterious cybernetic eye. This midnight eye gives him the power to access and control any computer on the planet, and, well, in a universe that's as futuristic as this, the eye basically makes Goku unbelievably powerful. Armed with his new skills, a telescopic staff, and an unwavering sense of justice, Goku takes on a series of futuristic villains who blur the line between man and machine. Directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri of Ninja Scroll fame, this OVA is split into 2 parts, each lasting about an hour. If you really want to dive into a retro-futuristic world of crime and cyborgs, this one's for you. Battle Angel Alita, 1993. Battle Angel Alita is undoubtedly one of the most well-known pieces of work in this entire genre. It tells the story of Alita, an amnesiac female cyborg. A cyber physician named Daisuke Ido finds Alita's head and chest in a local dump, and this completely changes both of their lives. The tale is set in a dystopian future in a chaotic and futuristic metropolis named the Scrapyard, which is essentially a massive junk heap under the floating city of Typhares. Typhares dominates almost every aspect of the scrapyard, and they offload their own waste onto the surface below. The inhabitants of the scrapyard also find themselves brutally exploited for both entertainment and labor. Thus, many of its inhabitants have turned to scavenging and violence, using their cybernetic enhancements to wreak havoc all around town. When Ito succeeds in reviving Alita, she has zero recollection of her past, but is somehow an expert in the art of Panzerkunst, an ancient and deadly martial art designed specifically for cyborg combat. With this, she becomes a skilled hunter-warrior, and over the course of her journey, she begins to learn more about her origins. We eventually learn that she's a soldier from Mars, but that's just the beginning of her story. Alita's journey also leads her into the brutal sport of motorball, a gladiatorial contest popular in the scrapyard. Her mastery over Panzerkunst makes her unnatural, and she quickly rises to fame in the sport. However, as the story continues, we learn that Alita's fate is intrinsically tied to the city and its hidden secrets. If you're into high-octane action and brutal battles, do give this one a chance. Akira, 1988. Our next entry is a true landmark in the world of animation and is considered to be genre-defining by most fans of the genre. Honestly, there's not much that can be said about Katsuhiro Otomo's magnum opus that hasn't been said before. The story takes place about 31 years after a mysterious explosion has completely annihilated old Tokyo. In 2019, the original metropolis was replaced by Neo-Tokyo, a cyberpunk version of the city where crime is rampant and gangs rule the streets. At the heart of this story, there are 2 childhood friends, Kaneda and Tetsuo, members of a motorcycle gang that often find themselves on the wrong side of the law. One night, Tetsuo is picked up by a secret government agency that subjects him to a bunch of experiments that awaken strange psychic powers in the guy. As Tetsuo's powers spiral out of control, Kaneda finds himself extremely desperate to save him. Behind the whole conspiracy is a mysterious entity known as Akira, a subject of past experiments whose legacy of power seems to terrify even the most hardened government officials. Akira is one of a kind due to its fluid cell animation, with each of its frames meticulously hand-drawn by artists. The film also makes use of an iconic pulsating score that makes this world incredibly hypnotic. Today, Akira feels like a prophetic vision, a curious blend of body horror, sci-fi, battle anime, and philosophy that has inspired films like The Matrix, Nope, and Inception. If you're having trouble picking a film from this list, you should start with this one. Megazone 23, 1985. Another seminal work in the cyberpunk genre, Megazone 23 is considered a precursor to numerous classics like Akira and Ghost in the Shell. Directed by Noboru Ishiguro, this tale revolves around Shogo Yahagi, a teenage rebel and biker who lives in a futuristic, neon-drenched version of Tokyo. Shogo's world changes when he comes to possess a top-secret prototype motorcycle, the Garland. This astonishing vehicle is heavily armed with advanced AI and heavy weaponry. However, as the story goes on, Shogo makes a startling discovery. The city that they live in is not real, and its entire population seems to be living in a massive space colony where AI is constantly manipulating their perception of reality. Of course, Shogo finds himself against the authorities after this discovery as he threatens their absolute control over society. As the lines between illusion and reality begin to blur, Shogo must now confront some very serious questions about freedom, identity, and resistance. Genocyber, 1994. If you like ultra-violence, then Genocyber will definitely fascinate you, as it's an OVA about two psychic sisters, Elaine and Diana. Elaine is mute and mentally deficient, while Diana is crippled due to illegal experiments designed to unlock her psionic potential. Elaine succeeds in escaping from the lab, while Diana is sent to retrieve her. Unfortunately, Diana ends up killing her sister in a fit of rage. Even then, Elaine's mind manages to survive and takes over Diana's cyborg body, transforming her into a strange mutant creature known as Genocyber. If you like violence and psychological dilemmas, you'll definitely have a lot of fun with this one. Marvelous verdict! Well, it's evident from this list that cyberpunk is a vibrant and diverse genre that has seen many great stories over the years. Due to the nature of these futuristic stories, they often tend to be bleak and dystopian, which allows them to reflect on humanity in times of crisis. Many of these takes are allegories about war and its effect on the human psyche, which is something that will always be relevant no matter when you watch it. Which of these is your favorite? Let us know in the comments down below, and also be sure to let us know if we missed it. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our marvelous content. I guess that means it's time to say goodbye for now, but don't worry because we'll catch you in the next one real soon. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.